In this tutorial, we're going to set up the storage implementation for the camera2 video application. In other words, we're going to set up a place to save our videos to. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel. Okay, so we need to do a number of things here. One, we need to create a directory, a folder, a place to save our videos to. Number two, we need to create unique file names for each video we're going to record. And number three, we need to make this marshmallow compatible so it works on marshmallow or later devices for the permission, runtime permission requirements. Anyway, let's make a start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Android manifest file. And here, as you can see on this line here, I've got the permissions for the camera. That's fine, the camera works, we need to get the preview working, but now I need write external storage permission as well, so I can actually save permissions. So let's go and set that up. Write external storage. Okay, so we've got that here. This sort of supports the older versions of Marshmallow, but it doesn't support runtime permission support. You still need this in here, but we'll go into the source code now and add that after we've set up the storage and the file name implementations for this application. Let's go back there. Okay, so what we need to do here is I need to add a couple more members here. I'll just add them down here. One I need to add here is going to be a file, and this is going to represent the location, storage location, the directory, the folder, whatever you want to call it, for the videos. So let's just call it member video folder. And I need to create another one. This is going to be a string. This is going to represent each, give a unique file name for each video that we save. Okay, we've got those two now set up. Let's go down to the bottom. Let's create a new member here. I'll just call it create video folder. So we're going to create the video folder first. Okay, the first thing I need to do is just to get a file that represents the external public folder for movies. So let's call this the movie folder, movie file maybe. Okay, you can get this by calling environment and get external public directory here. This is the one I want. And we need to pass in the name of, we're going to call it directory movies. It's supplied for us. So basically this is going to provide us the folder location of where all the movies get put. Okay, inside that folder I want to create a unique folder for my application so I know where my application saves all its movies. So I'm going to create a new file here. No, I don't need to create a new file. We've already created this file here. It's called member video folder. So now we can initialize and set that up. So we'll create a new file. And we'll first of all pass in the first file, which is the location where all the videos are stored. Generic location, you can think of it. Now I'll just pass in my own unique folder name of where I want to put these files inside. So I'll call this camera2 video image. I didn't really want to call this camera2 video because I think other tutorials might use that name. So this is the camera2 video image, which is accurate because this application is also going to capture images. Okay, so we've now created that. Now we want to do a check. Every time we start up the application, we don't need to create this folder every time. So we'll do a check to see if the folder is created or not. So let's just see if that exists. And if it doesn't exist, that's why I've put the not there, we'll create it. We'll use this make.dirs because that will also create parent folders if they're not created as well. So that's a safe command to run there. Okay, so that's fine for the video create video folder. We do need to call it. Let's call it now inside the onCreate. And I'll call it quite earlier on, creating that create video folder. Okay, so that's now done. That folder will get created. And if it's already created, it will get skipped because we do check for that if it exists or not. Okay, next step now is to create a file name for each video that we're going to record. So I'll create a new method for that. Now this is going to return a file. And I'll call it create video file name. Okay, I'm going to put a throws in here just in case something goes wrong, because it's quite important if we are creating a unique file name. So I'm just going to throw an IO exception here in case anything does go wrong. Okay, first thing I want to do here is to create a string representing the timestamp. And to get the timestamp, we'll be calling new SimpleDateFormat. And it takes a string value here that sort of represents years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. So we can just pass in the cases here as such. And it's not quite right. Month, month, day, day, underscore, hour, hour, minute, minute, second, second. That's a bit better. And we're going to format that with a new date object. So that's our date stamp. Okay, I just want to add a bit of decoration around that, you could say, just to give the actual name of the video file a bit more context. So I'm going to create a new string. I'm going to call this prepend. It goes before the actual file name itself. Okay. So, and set it up. And first part I'm going to do is we're just going to do uppercase video underscore. Now we're going to put our timestamp, and let's just add another underscore at the end as well. Such. Okay, so I've got the prepend working now. Now I can actually go and create my actual file. I'll just call it video file. We're going to use temp file to create this. And we'll pass in the prepend first. And then append is just going to represent, I'm just going to make this MPEG-4. And I'm also going to pass in the storage. And the storage name is, or the storage variable that holds the information is mvideo folder, which is here. Okay, so I've now created that video file. Now I want to get the name of that file and pass it back to my string, which I'll use at a later stage. And so the name of the video file name is that we set up before. And now we'll call video file and get absolute path. That is the name. Now finally we need to return the video itself, the video file itself. Okay, that's it. I'm not actually going to create this file. I want to do that once everything's configured and I'm ready to press the button as such. So it's better to actually create the file name, create the file right just before you're about to recording, and once you've set up the media recorder and everything else. Okay, so we've created a folder, we've created an implementation for creating file names. The next step now is to actually make this Marshmallow compatible. Okay, so now we need to I'm going to create a new method here. And I'll call this check write storage permission. Okay, so first thing I want to do is just to check. I want to support applications that run on devices older than Marshmallow. So let's do a check for that now. So we want to check to see if the SDK is bigger than or equal to basically Marshmallow. This version code's here and a big M to represent Marshmallow. Now, if we're running on older versions of Android, you don't need to worry about this. Inside this else statement, we're going to actually do what we would normally do here. Okay, part of the code we want to put in here actually exists in the onCreate and the toggle button from the previous tutorial. So let's go up there and move that code into here and just call this method. So let's go into onCreate. So what we want to do is to relocate that actual recording code down here into the onCreate, because that represents when we start recording. So we can call that method. It's a check, isn't it? Check write external storage permissions. And let's just move these two lines of code here. Go into this method again. And we can paste these two lines in down here. Okay. And we can also, this is probably a good position for us to actually create our file name as well. Create video file name. Okay, it's throwing me a exception, so I need to put a trap harness around it. Okay, that's fine that. Okay, so we're now supporting older versions of Android. Now we need to support Marshmallow or later, so we'll do that in here. So first thing we'll need to do is just to do a check to see if we've granted permission or not, write storage permission or not to this. So it's check self permission. And the actual permission is going to be write storage. So we'll go to permission here and write external storage. So we'll do a check on that. And so we want to check to see if that's been granted. In the package manager, it gives us a value to check against that. Okay, so if that's fine, we can paste in those lines of code, just like we did before. But if we're running an application for the first time and we haven't granted permission, we need to support that. So put an else statement in here. And before we actually request permission, we need to check to see if permission was granted and had been denied. It's a valid use case. So we call this should show user permission rationale. Method has been given to us, and pass in our permission. Just write external storage. And in this case, we're going to show the rationale in the form of a toast. needs to be something like able to save videos. That's why we need that permission. Set that as short, and we need to show that. Okay, but if you're running this for the first time, you won't need to check for that, but you will need to request permission. So we'll call request permissions, and we need to pass in a string. And here will be the actual permission itself. Now, because this is a request permission, we're going to Android OS to request to see if we've got permission or not. It's going to respond back to us in a non-result callback. And so we need to put an identifier for that, send it away, and we can check against it on the callback. So let's see if I can work out what to call that. Okay, down here I've already set up a request for camera permission, so I'll set that up just below here. I'll just copy this line here. Try that again. Okay, so I'm just going to change the name of this slightly to, and I can hardly write external. I think I need to change my theme for Android and change that to 1. Okay, so basically I'm going request write external storage permission result, whether or not that's been denied or granted. And I'll add that to here. It's down here, request write external permission result. And that's it for this method. Now we need to jump into our on result to see whether or not we've been granted permission. So let's find that. It'll be on request permissions result. Okay, so we've already set up an if statement here, and if I could have looked into the future, I would have used the switch. I don't want to muck around changing all the code to a switch, so I'm just going to put in another else statement underneath. You can complain or not. This is just tutorial sample code, but I would put a switch here personally. Okay, so let's first check our request code is equal to the right request camera permission result here. And we'll need to also check to see if the granted result has been permission granted. Just the same as what we've done up above here. Let's do a check to see if that equals package manager permission granted. And if it does, we can actually toggle the button and start recording. This will normally only happen once. So let's go down below and get that code here. Paste that. And paste that into here. Now, if we haven't been granted permission for any reason, user might have clicked denied, let's put up a toast just to explain the impact of that on our application. So add a toast, make text. And I'm just going to put some text here saying app needs to save video to run. Something like that, something that a user is sort of going to understand the impact of denying right external storage permission. Okay, set time for that toast. and we need to display the toast, show it as such. Okay, and because my tutorial is going to be completing here, I want to add a toast just to let us know that permission's been granted, mainly just for debug itself. So let's create another toast here. Make text and I'll say put permission granted, permission successfully granted. Exclamation mark or happy face, whatever you want to put it. Okay, toast, make it short and add a show on the end there. Okay, and I believe that's it. That's all we want to go ahead. So we've put in the code for 3 things. We've created the folder we want to store the videos. We've created unique file names for each video we want to record, and we've made this marshmallow compatible. And as you can see, the marshmallow code does take a bit of code just to make this marshmallow compatible or not. Okay, so let's try running this and see if our write storage permissions do work. And record this so you can see what's happening on the device. Okay, you'll notice that we haven't yet been asked for write external storage permissions yet. That's because we're not doing anything, we're just using the preview. Preview doesn't require that. It's only when we press that record button and we want to save that video, we need the write external storage permissions. So let's press that button. Okay, you can see the pop-up there. Allow camera2 video image to access photos, blah blah blah. We want to save a video, so that's like accessing. So let's click allow, and permission successfully granted. So I know at this stage of my application development, my permissions, I've got all the permissions I require to actually save the videos into my folder. Okay, that concludes this episode of the camera2 video application tutorials series. So just to summarize, in this tutorial series we learned how to create a file representing a folder for our videos. We also learned how to create unique file names for each and unique files and file names for each one of our videos we want to save by using the timestamp method. And we also learned how to make this particular application compatible with versions of Android Marshmallow and later for the runtime storage permission part of the application. So if you want to get notified of the following tutorials to this series or any other tutorial series that I'm working on, click on the subscribe button down below. And now surrounding me is all my social media accounts. If you want to get get notified and up to date of all my latest news and changes and what I'm getting up to, you can go to any of those social media accounts if you're looking at this from a computer. And don't forget, directly above me is a link to my website as well, and that's probably the best place for viewing these videos because you've got the example code down below, you can watch the video, and it's also got the information of where the code is and how to get it from GitHub. Anyway, that's all for this one. Bye for now.